Leave them, dogs. The order cut through the smoke like a blade. Static hissed in Sergeant Eliza Kane's earpiece as the convoy burned along the narrow dirt pass. The sky above the mountains glowed orange from flares and incoming fire. Engines screamed. Men shouted. Somewhere behind the shattered Humvee, 7 military working dogs barked in frantic, confused terror. Negative extraction for K9 unit, command repeated. Enemy closing fast. We move now. Eliza lay prone on a shattered rooftop overlooking the valley. Her sniper rifle rested steady against her shoulder, cheek pressed to the stock, breath controlled despite the chaos below. Through her scope she saw it all. 2 downed vehicles, wounded operators dragging each other toward the final armored truck, and the kennel trailer tipped onto its side near the ravine's edge. The dogs were still inside. 7 of them: Rex, Mako, Titan, Blue, Echo, Ghost, and Little Vega, the youngest Belgian Malinois, barely 2 years old. "Ma'am, we don't have time," one of the operators shouted over the radio. "We're about to be overrun." Another explosion rocked the valley. Dust and shrapnel filled the air. Eliza adjusted her scope and squeezed off a shot. An enemy fighter dropped from a ridge 600 meters out. "One less," she muttered. "Sniper, fall back now." Command barked. "That's an order." Eliza didn't answer. Below her, she saw Corporal Hayes sprint toward the kennel trailer. He tried lifting the twisted metal door, but a second blast forced him back. He dove behind cover, coughing. "They're trapped," Hayes shouted. "We can't just leave them," came the furious reply from the convoy leader. "They're assets, not personnel." Assets. Eliza's jaw tightened. She remembered every one of those dogs' training days. She remembered Vega's first jump over a wall too high for her size. She remembered Rex refusing to let go of her sleeve during bite training until she laughed and scratched behind his ears. She remembered Mako saving a squad from a buried IED just 3 months earlier. Assets. Through her scope she saw movement, enemy fighters advancing through the rocks, using the smoke as cover. They were closing fast. If the convoy pulled out now, the dogs would be captured. Or worse. Her breathing slowed. She made her choice. "Eliza, do you copy?" "Fall back." She switched channels. "Hayes," she said calmly. "On my mark, make another run for that trailer." There was a pause. "That's against direct orders." "I know." Silence again. Then, "Copy that." Eliza shifted positions, bracing against a cracked chimney. Wind from the valley drifted left. She adjusted 2 clicks. Mark. 3 precise shots rang out in rapid succession. 3 enemy fighters fell before they even realized where the fire came from. "Go," she ordered. Hayes sprinted. Another operator followed him despite the order to retreat. Together they reached the overturned trailer. The dogs inside were barking wildly now, scratching against the metal. Eliza scanned the ridge. More enemies. She fired again. And again. Her radio exploded with angry commands. "You are disobeying a direct extraction order." She ignored it. Hayes wedged a crowbar into the twisted frame. It didn't budge. "Sniper, we can't open it." Eliza's eyes flicked to the ravine. The trailer was inches from sliding down. She stood. She slung her rifle across her back and began descending the crumbling staircase of the abandoned building she had used as her nest. "Where are you going?" Command demanded. "To get them," she replied. Gunfire followed her as she ran down the hill, bullets snapping past her ears. She reached the convoy line breathless but steady. "You've lost your mind," the convoy leader yelled. "Cover me." She grabbed a cutting torch from the back of a damaged truck. Hayes shielded her as she knelt by the trailer door. Sparks flew as she burned through the twisted hinge. Inside, terrified eyes stared back at her. "It's okay," she whispered. "I'm here." Rex lunged forward first, licking her face through the gap. Vega whined, trembling. The torch sputtered. Incoming fire intensified. "Eliza," Hayes shouted. "We're surrounded." She burned through the final hinge. The door fell open. "Move," she ordered. One by one, the dogs leapt out. Trained even under chaos, they immediately took position beside the operators. But the noise and explosions had shaken Vega badly. She froze halfway out of the trailer, paws trembling on the edge. The ground beneath the trailer shifted. "Eliza," someone screamed. The trailer tipped. Without thinking, Eliza lunged forward and grabbed Vega by the harness just as the entire metal shell slid over the ravine's edge and disappeared into darkness. She rolled back onto solid ground, cradling the shaking dog against her chest. For 1 second, everything went silent in her head. Then reality roared back. "Fall back now," Command shouted. This time, she obeyed. The convoy retreated in a tight defensive formation, Eliza providing cover fire as they loaded the dogs into the remaining vehicles. 7 dogs, 7 living souls. As the trucks roared away down the mountain pass, Eliza looked back at the smoke rising behind them. She knew there would be consequences. But she didn't care, because when Vega finally stopped trembling and rested her head against Eliza's chest, she knew she would make the same choice again. Always. Back at base, the debrief was brutal. "You disobeyed a lawful order in an active combat zone," the commanding officer said coldly. "You risked the entire mission. I secured 7 trained military working dogs who have saved more lives than most soldiers will ever understand," Eliza replied evenly. "They are equipment. They are partners." The room went silent. Word spread fast across the unit. Some called her reckless. Others called her brave. The K-9 handlers didn't need to say anything, their gratitude was written across their faces. But the story didn't end there. 2 weeks later, intelligence reports confirmed what Eliza had feared. The same enemy group had been actively hunting Coalition K-9 units to exploit their tracking capabilities. Had those 7 dogs been captured, they would have been tortured for training methods. Or used against their own teams. Instead, Rex and Mako were deployed again within days. And Vega refused to leave Eliza's side. The young Malinois began sitting outside her barracks room each morning. Eventually, the handlers requested Vega be reassigned to Eliza as her operational partner. Command reluctantly approved. If they thought Eliza was dangerous before, they hadn't seen her fight with something she loved beside her. Months later, a new mission came. High-value target, mountain compound, hostiles heavily armed. Eliza and Vega were inserted at night with a small recon team. Halfway through the approach, the team triggered a hidden ambush. Gunfire erupted from 3 sides. Chaos. Men fell. Smoke swallowed the terrain. "Eliza, we're pinned," the team leader shouted. She dropped prone, heart steady despite the storm. Vega lay pressed against her side, waiting for command. Through thermal scope, Eliza counted at least 12 hostiles advancing. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and cut off from extraction. "Eliza," the team leader said grimly, "if we don't break through, we're not walking out of here." She nodded once. Then she unclipped Vega's lead. "Find," she whispered. Vega shot forward into the darkness like a shadow. Gunfire followed. Screams. Moments later, confusion spread through the enemy ranks as Vega struck from blind angles, disrupting their formation. Eliza took her shots calmly, precisely. One by one, hostiles dropped. The team broke through the weakest flank and began moving toward higher ground. But as they retreated, an explosion rocked the path behind them. Eliza felt heat and force slam her to the ground. Her ears rang. Dust filled her lungs. When her vision cleared, she saw Vega lying several meters away. "Not moving. Vega," she shouted, crawling toward her partner under fire. The dog was breathing, but barely. Blood darkened her fur. Something inside Eliza snapped. Not fear, not panic, resolve. She rose to one knee, ignoring the bullets snapping around her, and fired with a cold, controlled fury that silenced the battlefield in under 2 minutes. When the last hostile fell, the valley grew quiet. Her team stared at her in stunned silence. She gathered Vega carefully into her arms. "We're going home," she whispered. Extraction arrived minutes later. Vega survived surgery. It took months for her to recover fully. During that time, Eliza faced formal review for her continued pattern of emotional operational decisions. But the mission reports told another story. Her actions saved 12 operators and neutralized a high-value target. Eventually, the charges were dropped. Quietly, because sometimes, the line between discipline and humanity isn't written in regulations. It's written in loyalty, and Eliza Kane had drawn hers in stone. The scar along Vega's side never fully disappeared. Neither did the one inside Eliza. After recovery, command reassigned Eliza to long-range Overwatch roles, less direct engagement, fewer risks. They thought it would keep her controlled. They were wrong. Because a sniper doesn't fight for orders. A sniper fights for the person beside them. Months later, intelligence uncovered a brutal insurgent camp operating deep across the border. Reports confirmed captured civilians, and evidence of abused military animals taken from prior conflicts. The images hit Eliza hard. She volunteered immediately. Denied. She submitted again. Denied again. Finally, during a briefing, she stood. "With respect, sir," she said calmly, "if they have captured working dogs, they'll use them to track and dismantle Allied patrols. I understand their behavior patterns. I can anticipate their deployment. Silence. Then approval. The insertion was silent. Just Eliza, Vega, and a 4-man recon unit. They crawled through rocky terrain for hours until the compound came into view. Through thermal scope, Eliza counted armed guards, and something else. Cages. Large ones. Inside them, movement. Dogs. Her jaw tightened. Confirmed, she whispered into comms. Multiple canines in holding. Command hesitated. Primary objective is intelligence extraction, not animal recovery. Eliza's eyes remained on the scope. She didn't argue this time. She just said, understood. But when the assault began and chaos erupted inside the compound, something shifted. One of the insurgents ran toward the cages with a rifle. Eliza saw his intent before anyone else. She fired. He dropped inches from the first cage door. The recon unit secured the intelligence target quickly. Objective complete. Exfil now. But Eliza was already moving. She reached the cages and cut the locks. Inside were 3 malnourished working dogs, ribs visible, eyes hollow. They didn't bark. They didn't growl. They simply looked at her. It's okay, she whispered. Behind her, gunfire intensified. Eliza, we're leaving. She hesitated only half a second. Then she made her choice. Again, adjust exfil route, she said calmly. We're not leaving them. The team cursed, but they didn't abandon her. Because by now, they understood something command didn't. Eliza Kane didn't defy orders for ego. She did it because she refused to measure loyalty in convenience. The escape was brutal. Carrying injured dogs slowed them. Enemy reinforcements closed in. At one point, Eliza ran out of ammunition and drew her sidearm while Vega guarded their rear flank with lethal precision. When the extraction helicopter finally lifted off, 5 operators and 4 rescued dogs were aboard. Alive. Back at base, the fallout was immediate. But so was the recognition. The rescued dogs were rehabilitated and eventually reassigned to allied units. And intelligence gathered during the raid prevented multiple planned attacks. During a quiet ceremony weeks later, Eliza stood at attention as Vega sat proudly beside her. No grand speeches, no dramatic applause, just quiet acknowledgement, because heroes rarely get parades. They get scars.